you think the American dream still exists?
Depends on who you ask. Depends on who's motivated enough to answer that question for themselves.
What does the American dream look like for you?
For me, it's a step-by-step process. I'm writing a book right now, and I'm almost finished with that. And I want to do for a job work in the space field with NASA. So I think that would be really cool. So my American dream is just take it step by step and take procedures in place to eventually do that.
Okay, serious person to start with right there. That's a pretty impressive student. Sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders, perhaps good parenting. Right on. Hell of a way to start the video. Let's move on.
I'm gonna say yeah. It just I think it just depends on the person. Like if you really want to work for that American dream, you gotta do what you gotta do, but you can't be lazy with it. So I'll say yeah.
What does the American dream look like to you?
Making sure I can take care of my family. I don't want my parents working anymore. I'd rather be the person who's taking care of them. Make sure they can just retire, do what I can take care of them. Just making sure my family good. At the end of the day, that's number one. So
for me, I would just be like having a house and a family, like having my own happiness, not having to rely on other people too. That's it. Yeah.
Fantastic responses so far. I mean, them bringing up family, I think that's fantastic. That's obviously a part of the American dream. Also, him talking about can't be lazy. The other guy talking about how you can't be lazy. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that certainly hasn't changed in the United States. You know, they don't reward people that are lazy. But great responses from these young men so far. I'm sure many of you guys at home probably are watching this being like, oh, well, you haven't been out in the workforce yet. You'll see how tough it is to make money, and totally reasonable thought process there. But when it comes to, you know, your mindset in college, to have this mindset of, yes, it exists. Yes, I'm going to go out and get it. And yes, I'm going to go start a family is fantastic. That's everything that we should want America's youth to be thinking. You know, it's up to us to make sure that that's their reality.
My parents came over here because I'm from Mexico and they're able to make a living. So I think it still exists just because they're able to do it. But I feel like for other people, it's they have a difficult life. So sometimes it doesn't exist for them.
I feel like the idea still exists, but if it is actually attainable is more questionable.
Yeah. What does the American dream look like for you guys? Like, what is your ultimate American dream?
Successful, like 6-figure job, good family.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so what he was just getting at right there, and we'll talk about what the American dream is in just a second, or, you know, it is subjective, but what I believe it to be, and what I think most people would agree that it is. But what he just brought up right there, you know, family coming from Mexico, sending their son to college. Yes, that is the American dream right there. And we're not really debating whether or not it existed in the past. We're debating whether or not it is still a thing today. And possibly we could talk about whether it would be a thing 20 to 30 years from now. That is the American dream right there. What she said right there, saying that she's not really sure, I feel as though a lot of people feel that way. So I'm not even going to rag on her because I feel as though a lot of people feel that way. Is it sad that a college student is here saying, I don't really think it's attainable anymore? Yeah, that's a major bummer. But I do know that a lot of people feel that way. I wanted to show this poll right here because I did this about 2 months ago, asking you guys, does the American dream still exist? Look at these results. 50,000 votes. 29% said yes. 31% said no. 35% said kind of. So obviously kind of is falling under that majority. And what would fall under kind of? It's an incredibly complex topic, but I think depending on where you live in the country, a lot of people feel as though the American dream is much tougher to get. Probably one reason would be just getting a home, paying rent. Inflation is out of control. But generally speaking, what does the American dream mean? It means come here. It means get a job. It means find a roof over your head, start a family, and provide for them. That's what it means. And I think most people would agree on that just basic definition right there. You enjoy the freedoms that America has to offer. Whether or not this stuff is still going to exist in 20 years because America's elites hate you and want to take it from you is another story. But right now, I would argue that largely does exist. One reason why I'm saying that is because we'll go back to this kid right here, family coming from Mexico, okay? Let's just talk about Central America right now. We have over 200,000 people crossing our border illegally just to get in the United States. Overwhelming majority are economic migrants. coming here to find work to provide for their families? Is that not evidence that the American dream does exist? But obviously, unfortunately, many Americans feel as though it's being stripped away because it is.